coaches and pros, the X's and O's. This is the best one to do what we know, so let's go. Yo, what's up, y'all? What's going on with everybody, man? What's up? Yeah, I got my studio a little different now. Got it a little different. Just a little bit. Hold up. Got to get my shades. Hold on. Yes, sir. You dig, man? We up in there now. Yeah. What's up? Make sure y'all hit that like, share, subscribe button and all that good stuff. Hey, yo, college football is most definitely on. It's popping right now. It is lit. The bracket is official. It's done. It's over with. I told y'all. I had a feeling James Madison should have went in there in the playoffs. And I want to give a shout out to all the conference champions first. You know what I'm saying? So shout out. And it was some great games out there that was being played too, by the way. Kennesaw State winning the Conference USA Championship, and they played Jacksonville State. Great game, man. Give it up for them, man. Kennesaw State played that game very great. And a little bit about them, man. Jerry Mack is up at the head coach at Kennesaw State. Took over this team. Team was horrible. The team was it was a bad team. Kennesaw State, the record, they just had moved up into the Conference USA. I believe it was last year was their first year. They wound up beating the Liberty team that had Colorado's quarterback, Caden Salter, on that team. Then later, this head coach, Jerry Mack, came from the MEAC, where he was a 3-time MEAC champion with North Carolina Central University. Okay, so we got to give it up to the man. Did his job. First year in the Conference USA. You could say it's a bump up, but he wins the whole Conference USA. Now, for some people who may not know the history of Mr. Jerry Mack, in 2021 to 2023, he was the running back coach for the Tennessee Titans. In 2024, he was the running back coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, 25, he goes and take over the head coaching job at Kennesaw State, brings his guys in. They wind up going to the Conference USA Championship game and winning it in a close one. But that's not only it, though. Guess who's the head coach at Jacksonville State right now? And they played in the Conference USA Championship against Kennesaw State. That was Charles Kelly. So give it up for him. You know what I'm saying? Charles Kelly, he took over the head coaching job up there at Jacksonville State, which was like, I'm like, yeah, that is lit, okay? All right, because he was the defensive coordinator for Coach Deion Sanders, for Coach Prime up at Colorado. He was a defensive coordinator. Him and Sean Lewis was there together. Some things didn't work out with Sean Lewis being there. You know what I'm saying? There's some rumors going around, and allegedly Sean Lewis was coaching Shedeur very hard. It didn't work out. So he goes up to San Diego State, where he is very successful. He almost had a chance to go to the Mountain West Conference Championship. Didn't quite make it, but that team was formidable, and they were a very good team. And Sean Lewis's team. Charles Kelly, defensive coordinator, was at Colorado, and now he was at Colorado 2023, the first year, right? Like Coach Prime got up there. He's at DC. Didn't work out. So then he goes and spends some time off. He said, all right. But then he's the head coach at Jacksonville State. I mean, they were only like 8-5, I believe, or something like that. But they still made it to the Conference USA Championship nonetheless. But Kennesaw State won that game. A little bit about that game. It was in the first quarter with like two. It was a dry game throughout the first quarter. The defenses were there. Of course, Charles Kelly had, you know what I mean? Charles Kelly got up into that, and it was a good game. But I'll give y'all that. But before we get up into the games, y'all got to hit the like, share, subscribe button, my man. Forgive me if y'all cannot hear me audio-wise. I just want to give y'all a quick glimpse at I want to give y'all a quick glimpse at my playoff bracket. I had made a playoff bracket. So if the audio's out, I got to forgive me for that. I just want to give y'all a quick glimpse at my playoff bracket that I kind of made up. This is the official playoff bracket. All right. So let's take a look at that. Then we'll get right back up into the games, and we'll start breaking those down. All right. So let me get this pulled up here for y'all. The audio, everybody out. Okay, so we got that pulled up. Okay, that's the bracket right there. That's the bracket. I don't know, I'm not sure if y'all can hear me or not, but that's the bracket. That's my bracket. We got James Madison sitting at James Madison will be playing Oregon, going to Oregon. Alabama will be going to Oklahoma. Tulane will be going to Ole Miss. And the winner of that game will be playing Georgia, and then Miami. Shout out to Miami making it. We'll be playing Texas A&M. The winner of that game will play Ohio State. Winner of Alabama and Oklahoma will be playing Indiana. And the winner of James Madison University and Oregon will be playing Texas Tech. All right. We got that. Now, to me, real quick, just to try to, put something on it. I kind of want to, put it like this and to kind of give y'all a glimpse of the teams I think that will advance in this, right? So the teams that I think that advance, and I'll just kind of slide them over if y'all can still hear me. I'm not sure, but this is just the kind of where I would go with this, right? With these teams. Now, this is just me. This is still early. Some of these picks can change, but this is right now, first round. I'm thinking Oregon will advance. They'll go on to play Texas Tech. All right. And then I would say out of Alabama and Oklahoma, that's going to be a really close game. Those games, it's going to go down, right? Oklahoma and Alabama's defenses, it's just crazy, right? It's kind of both of those defenses are really good. So not sure on that game right there. I think I would take Oklahoma to win by 3. Todd Simpson is the better quarterback. I do think that Oklahoma got some tight defenses. Hopefully got it together. I'll take Oklahoma in a shocker, right? I'm going to take Ole Miss to go to play Georgia. And then over Miami and Texas A&M. Believe it or not, this is a road game for Miami. I'm not sure what Miami team is going to show up and how they're going to play them. I know that Texas A&M's run defense is really good. However, they can run. They do got the weapons to play that team. If Miami comes and play pressure, I think it's going to be a good game. But I got to go. I'm going to probably go with A&M. I'm going to go with A&M to win that game, right? Go with A&M. Out of A&M and Ohio State, of course, I'm going with Ohio State to advance. Out of Georgia and Ole Miss, I'm going to go with Georgia. I think they get their revenge on Ole Miss. They go ahead and they advance. Indiana and Oklahoma, I'm going with Indiana. People think that Indiana is a joke. Indiana is no joke, but we'll get up into that talk. And I'll just try to get through this as fast as possible. And I think Oregon advances. I think out of Oregon and Indiana, Oregon gets the rematch with Indiana. Indiana, I think, wants to do a tough game. This is a very tough game for them. They already played one tough game against Oklahoma, probably a little bit banged up in that game. But Georgia and Ohio State is kind of crazy because this probably I thought would be the national championship. But I'm probably gonna go ahead and advance Ohio State. And it's gonna be a Big Ten. To me, it's gonna be a Big Ten game. I do believe that this game is going to go down. Oregon is familiar with Indiana. Indiana's familiar with Oregon. However, I think this is where Oregon get their bite back. And I'm going, and I like Indiana and Cincinnati, but this the national championship preview for me. That's just one of my brackets, and that's how I'm rolling with that. But that's how that goes, y'all. All right. So we'll go ahead and right back out. Put the matchups back in order. Yeah, keep it moving. Put the matches back in order, man. That's it. So that's what I think. That's how I think that's going to play out. Yeah, that's where I got those teams at. All right. So we'll get those back in order, and then I'll get back on the screen for y'all. That's just kind of my pick, real quick. That's kind of what I got going on. All right. Now, however y'all want to put it, y'all can put it your own way, but that's what I got going. All right. So probably switch them around later on, but that's what I got going on. All right. So yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Now, I mean, it was really exciting, right? College football was really exciting. Notre Dame was the first team out, and and the second team out was BYU. Now, I understand a lot of Notre Dame fans are upset. The win over Notre Dame helped out Miami. However, Miami did lose to SMU, and they lost to a Louisville, right? A Louisville team. James Madison's only loss was to that Louisville team. I thought that they should have been the only group of five team that was in, if any. To be honest, you know what I'm saying? Like, because James Madison is a really good group of five team. And I've been talking about the group of five matchups for some time now and wanting to see these group of five teams have their own playoff bracket. We do not have to extend the playoff bracket that we already have going. We could just give the group of five their own playoff bracket, and which would pick up a lot of steam. A lot of people will watch it. I think that more people y'all need to get in the comments. Y'all need to leave comments on that, because I'm sure that a lot of people who watch me and that tune into me, y'all want to see the group of five playoffs. And for that to happen, we got to get, when people speak on it, we have to share that. We have to let it be known we have those interests in line, even if you have a different kind of breakdown than what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to keep it simple, right? And just give them their own bracket. But however, we gotta have our voices heard in some capacity, because I think that we're going to see blowouts in the first round. I do think that there's some good football teams, right? James Madison is a very well coached football team, and like I told y'all, if any group of five teams should make it, they should have made it. Tulane getting in there over Notre Dame, to me, is some BS. I must be honest, because and here's why, Tulane fans, before you get mad at me, before y'all get mad and y'all call me a hater, I think that Notre Dame should have got in over. The committee made a mistake. Tulane should have not been in there. And I explained already why Tulane shouldn't have been in there. And I think some time ago I explained it, but I'll explain it again, right? Because how it was the group of five conference that probably had the better teams in it, right? And that's where I was saying, if any team of group of five deserves to be in, it would be James Madison. Or if James Madison, none of them gets in, period. None of them. Don't put none of them in, because there was no, the record of the teams, right, in the Sun Belt, you would say Sun Belt teams aren't that good. James Madison should win that, right? And you would sit there and say that to yourself, right? Like, okay, the Conference USA, they beat up on each other. They really didn't look that good, like, right? Now, what helped the American Athletic Conference was USF beating Florida, an SEC team. See, that's what helped them this year, right? But see, at the same time, you got a team that, like USF, that had won and beat a Florida team, but then they lose a game to Memphis. Okay, and then Memphis turns around and loses to UAB, which is at the very bottom of their conference, an American Athletic Conference. So I was really confused on how do you even put a team in there. Now, if you want to talk Notre Dame's schedule and everything else, if you want to talk schedule, strength of schedule, whatever. If you want to talk strength of schedule, okay. You know what I mean? Okay. We might get, okay, I'll understand that. If you want to sit there and talk, strength of schedule wise, I could understand that. But still, they take, okay, so Tulane played Northwestern. That Big Ten game helped them because Northwestern wound up beating Penn State, right? So you look at that. They beat Northwestern. They've beaten Duke. They lost to Ole Miss, blown out. I mean, blown out. They didn't even come close. You know what I mean? Like they're high. Retzlaff was their leading rusher in that game, and he only had like 50 something passing yards. Ole Miss totally dominated them in that game. It wasn't even a game. So I would rather see, honestly, I would rather see a Notre Dame playing Ole Miss than Tulane. It's going to be a blowout. And we're probably going to see a blowout, James Madison versus Oregon. That's another blowout. And I look, I be real. I'm giving real honest football takes here. That's what I do. Now, that's just what it is, and everybody knows that. And they go on, they beat Tulsa, East Carolina, University. They lost to UTSA. See, that was the loss right there that wiped out either, to me, that was the loss that either wiped out the Duke or the Northwestern game. Now, they did dominate Northwestern in the game. They handled them. They beat them by 20. So either the Duke, so when you beat the ACC champion in I think it was like week 3 or 4 when they played Duke. So when you play Duke and you beat Duke, the AC, which just beat the ACC champion, and it should have been Virginia, but when you beat that team, I guess that's what they're saying. But when you lose to University of Texas San Antonio, what are we doing? What are we doing from there? That was the loss. Like, that's comparable to the Notre Dame. To me, that's like Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois. But at the same time, like, yeah, y'all schedule was tough, but you lost. And that's not even an impressive loss. The Ole Miss loss wasn't impressive. You did play a SEC team. I give them that. But it wasn't an impressive loss. It just wasn't, y'all. Come on, you 45-10. That's not impressive. It's not impressive. It's not. But they're out of conference games against Northwestern and Duke is the games that I guess the committee looked at, because those two out of conference wins, and then you got USF that also beat Florida. So yes, their conference built up some good wins, right? But I'm like, it just don't understand to me. I'm like, I just don't understand it. You can't lose to that team. You struggled with Memphis. You only beat Memphis by 6, and Memphis lost to UAB in y'all conference. And I'm not seeing what's going. I'm not seeing the group of 5 team play with anybody in the Big Ten or SEC. I'm gonna be honest. I don't see it happening with the Big 12 team that got in. You know, you could even probably make an argument that BYU should have been in over Tulane, because BYU's only loss was to a one-loss team in Texas Tech. You know what I mean? Texas Tech losing to a Arizona State team, and they didn't have their quarterback. They didn't have Brennan Morton in that game. They had their backup quarterback, Will Hammond, in that game. And they could have won that game, but they let them come back and score late in the fourth quarter in that football game. Arizona State did against Texas Tech, but BYU's only loss was to them. And I mean, yeah, they got handled in both games, but still, you know what I mean? Like, BYU's out, and then you put and if I'm not mistaken, the BYU they won 11, weren't they? Then they finished off 11-2, so they already had one more win. But I guess when you look at BYU schedule and you say, well, BYU, Tulane's schedule is tougher than them, and they won 2 out of conference games. Well, the ACC was really wasn't that good this year. It just wasn't. I'm just being honest. It just wasn't. And I don't think Miami helped itself by losing any one of those games. Miami is too good of a football team, has too much talent to even lose to a Louisville or a SMU. That had to have been an outcoached game. That had to have been coaching when it comes to that game, those particular games. How they prepared for those games, they were not prepared properly by the coaching staff in that game. They couldn't have been, because you look at Miami's team, it is a team that can compete with any one of these teams that's in the playoffs. Any one of them. And honestly, James Madison or Tulane couldn't see Miami. Neither one of those teams. But the ACC was just horrible this year. Horrible. That was by far the worst football in the worst conference in all of college football. The worst conference. You have to compare the ACC to, and this is being honest, and I think it was real tough for the committee this year because the ACC was so bad. That's what it was. The ACC was so bad that they had to take the American Athletic Conference and say, well, if you look at them conference for conference, the American Athletic is better than the American Coastal Conference, the ACC. The AAC is better than the ACC, which was crazy. But it's just the truth. It's there. Look at the games. Look how they played the games. Whether you want to look at the stats, whether you want to look at the games, breaking down the strength of schedule, whether you want to look at records, just look how these teams played. Look at the wins that's in there in the conference, and look at the losses that's in the conference. Look how they played. It just wasn't good football. And the ACC by far was not the best football. But I talked about that earlier in the season. I talked about that. And bowl games don't matter to a lot of people, but they matter to me. Why do they matter to people like me, the real fans of the game? Because I tell you what, you get a glimpse of what a team is going to look like the following year. What players are there, what players are not there. I kind of don't argue that some of the stars that's going to get drafted don't play in the game. I get that. But if you want to play pride for your team, go ahead. Because if you look at each conference's bowl record from last season, you would have known that the ACC was bad. They were bad. I think they won like one conference game last year. Like one. It was like, wow, like that's crazy. Like one conference, like one. The Big 12 holds pride into winning their bowl games. Say what you want about the Big 12. It is nothing but another Group of 5 conference that have taken the best of Group of 5 teams that have dominated, like a James Madison winning the Sun Belt out like that. They move up. They probably go to the Big 12. The Big 12 has taken Houston from the American Athletic. They grabbed a couple people from the American Athletic and the Pac-12. And that's what they did, right? But granted, they're taking pride in their bowl games, and their bowl record was probably one of the best in college football. I got to go back and look at it, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the Big 12 had the most wins in the bowl games, if I'm not mistaken. So, yes, their talent was there. That conference was there. Most of the starting quarterbacks that played in the Big 12 played in their bowl games last season, and that matters. Why does it matter? It matters to them, and it matters to the real fans out here. It really does. It really does. It should matter. So what is a whatever bowl, whatever it is, they keep wanting to say, let's take bowl games out. Let's do this. Like, no, like why? No. They're already tearing up the sport. Keep them there. It prepares teams. And you see the team slacking off and not caring. And when you look at those bowl records, it gives you a glimpse into what talent is there. And it also helps coaches identify. It's an extra team. It's an extra game for coaches to identify what players that they have there and what players they don't. Where do I need to plug and play? Oh, my goodness. Look at this young man right here. I may not need a quarterback next year. I may need to just go get a couple of receivers. I may not. Oh, my goodness. Look at this linebacker. I need to go get my up front next year. Or you look at these young defensive linemen and defensive ends you got. Wow. My. You know what I mean? You get the glimpse to look at your roster and seeing what they can do. Those young men look forward to that game. Regardless if we're not going to see the seniors that's going to go to the NFL, forget about those guys. We'll see them in the NFL. They got to prove themselves now to us on Sundays. But those young guys that's coming up in college football, the ones that's being developed at certain universities, we get to see them show out. And that's why they should matter. And that's why the Big 12 had a better record. But the Big 12, it is what it is. And I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but shout out to James Madison making it. I thought that James Madison should have been one of the teams. But to see them, but I still think, and I will stand on this, the group of 5, group of 6, however you want to put that, they need their own playoff bracket. They do. Because there's teams sitting in the group, and there's teams right now that's sitting in the group of 5, however you want to put that, that should absolutely still been trying to play for a playoff instead of playing right now for what we want to call a game that doesn't matter, or however you want to put that. You know what I mean? Like we really should be looking at this and looking at it and saying, okay, these teams deserve to be playing in a bowl game. You know what I mean? Because you got teams like North Texas. They're 11-2. That's a playoff record. That is a playoff record. North Texas has a playoff record. Good team. Good team. But they'll only get the chance to play in a bowl game, a high ranking bowl game, a decent bowl game for the American Athletic, one of the best out of that conference. They'll get, a good bowl game, but they should be playing in a playoff. You agree? You know what I mean? And it, can't really, can't speak for the ACC. It was just horrible ball to me. It really was. And then you got teams like, the Big 12, they got a couple of 10-win teams, but North Texas should have absolutely been in one. Kennesaw State, that's another team that should be playing in a playoff bracket right now. Kennesaw State should absolutely be in a playoff bracket. They deserve it. They won out the Conference USA. They absolutely deserve it. I would like to see Jacksonville State. They had one of the better defenses in the group of 5. They had a decent playoff and a decent defense. So they should definitely be in the playoffs. And we look at the American Athletic, you can go to even Navy. They only had 9 wins. They finished off with 9 wins, but still, you can even argue USF, even with them losing, that they should be in a playoff game. You know what I mean? That they should be playing in a playoff bracket. A couple of those teams. So now we can even go to the none of the Pac-12 teams should go in there. They just didn't have a record, but they play their schedule was really tough. James Madison, I would say Old Dominion, they balled out. That's only a 9-win game, but hey, we're talking group of 5 here. Troy, they were the best in the Sun Belt West. They went to the conference championship game. They absolutely should be in a playoff for the group of 5. Now you put all those group of 5 teams, you know what I'm saying? You put some of those group of 5 teams in there that I just talked about. Even the MAC, you even go to the MAC, the MAC division. So we got to add the MAC, Western Michigan, absolutely a good team. Miami of Ohio is another good team. They only finished off 7-6, but that doesn't get you into the playoffs. But I would say, a 9-win, 10-win team should get them into the playoffs. You got Western Michigan, Navy, USF, North Texas, Troy. You got all those teams, and you put them in a group of 5 playoff. I think that's definitely something we want to watch. Those are the best teams. Kennesaw State, and they're balling out. And they're now only playing for a bowl. Now they're playing for the group of 5 national championship, which should be a thing. You want to do away with the bowl games? Okay, cool. Let's add more brackets. You know what I mean? Like, and I know it sounds like college football. It sounds like college basketball. No, college basketball has one bracket. We talking football here. Brackets. You want to do away with the brackets? Put them in brackets. They do it everywhere else. FCS does them. Division 2, Division 3, they do it. You know what I mean? So why can't why can't they have their own? And I mean, and honestly, and it's not, and listen, any group of five player, coach, or committee member that might be listening to this, I'm not knocking them. I'm not knocking you guys. You guys, sometimes you develop some of the best players in college football to me. They do. It's a different focus that's going on over there. It's a different focus. It's straight academics, your sports, and some of the most developed guys, serious guys. However, there is now teams like I said, you see a talented team that made minimal mistakes like Texas Tech beating a very well coached Kalani Sitake BYU team in Indiana. That teams that are just phenomenal. They're even grabbing a lot of the group of five coaches and bringing them up to the Power Five for a reason. So I get it. I just would like to see guys battle it out more. It means something. Because it's not easy getting 9-10 wins in college football. It's just not. And when you got to go up against guys, these schools that's paying $22 million, you know what I mean? And you don't have your guys, kind of have like Kurt Signetti had his guys. He has a culture. He's proven himself, right? It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to try to compete with a lot of talent some of the times. It just is. Just is. Give them their own. But moving on, trying to get through the show. You know what I mean? Got the rambling. I'm done with rambling for the end until, you know, the end of the show. We'll talk more when I get to the teams as we recap some of the season. That was just the arguments of the, you know, Notre Dame not being in, and BYU, those two teams being left out. It's crazy. But if you just give them their own conference, you don't have to worry about them. You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about the fifth highest ranking. You can just straight get to the meat and potatoes of it and just have these guys ball out and do away with it, right? Won't have that happen. And adding 16 teams is absolutely ridiculous. When you could just keep the 12 you got now and go 12 over there and keep it that way. Keep it that way. That's it. That's all. All right. So, shout out to the college football though, man. It was just crazy. It was phenomenal, man. It was. Let me get my water. Get my water. Get some water before I get up into these takes, man, because Kennesaw State, they did, like I said, they did win the Conference USA championship game. Now, early in the first quarter in that game, it was second, well, like 2 minutes, 45 seconds to go in the game, second and goal. There was an interception, but it got called back. And that may have hurt Jacksonville State because, look, it was second and goal when they threw the pick. Kennesaw State did. That may have hurt them in that game. The turnover, they didn't get that call, but it was like, oh man, but third and goal, they wound up getting a touchdown. They got the ball back the very next play. Kennesaw State runs it in for a touchdown, and then that game just went back and forth for a while. It just went back and forth like it, you know what I mean? There really wasn't another score until the third quarter with 10 minutes to go in the game. Kennesaw State, you know what I'm saying, kicker kicked a field goal after they had ran that touchdown in the first quarter. So the defense was there. Charles Kelly defense did its job in this game. It just did. Third quarter, 4 minutes and 32 seconds left in the game. It was Jacksonville State. They missed a field goal, went wide left. That can't happen. That can't happen, dog. That just, you know what I mean? The missed interception and missed field goals, that hurt them in the game. So they get that interception, you take that touchdown away, you add that field goal, the game is 3-3 right now, but it's not. However, it's still 10-0. Defense is still there. They showing up back and forth in it. Go to the fourth quarter, 10 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in there. Cam Cook, touchdown. Ran, I think it was like 15, 20-yard touchdown. Ran one in, got touchdown, got him. You know what I mean? Jacksonville State. Now they only down by 3, but you make that field goal, they're winning that game right now. That interception wasn't called back. They got that field goal. They win in the game. The game is totally opposite. But however, it just didn't work out like that. You know what I mean? Fourth quarter, 4 minutes, 25 seconds left to go in the game. 2nd and 5. Quarterback keeper straight up the middle. Didn't even look like he got touched. Didn't even look like he got touched. But he went out the middle. Boom, scored. 2-point conversion. Threw a ball. Corner, number 11, 2-point conversion. He got it in his hands. They got him. Went a corner with it. Right over the top. Boom. Got him. So that was it. Fourth quarter, 57 seconds left. Then quarterback number 7 ran a touchdown there. That was it. That was it. Threw a pass. I think it was a pass. I think it was. I think so. I think it was a pass. Yeah, Dean caught the pass from Hooks. That called it right there. Extra point was good. Kennesaw State won that game 19-15. It was a great game, man. Great game. Finished off. Good defense, all that. Wonderful, wonderful, right? So, yeah, but like I said, man, you know, that Kennesaw State game, I liked it. I watched it. I'm sure a lot of you guys, I hope a lot of you guys enjoyed that game because I did. I enjoyed watching that game. Moving on to the next one, right? So now we got the Troy and James Madison game. James Madison handled business versus Troy. I did give y'all the update on those coaches. James Madison, Bob Chesney, he coached at Holy Cross from 2018 to 2023. Then he coached at James Madison from 2024 to 2025. As y'all know, he took the UCLA job. Thank God. They want them James Madison coaches. James Madison, I drive past James Madison all the time in Virginia, right? I do. Harrisonburg. I go to Harrisonburg Travel Center right there. I park my truck there, so I drive past their campus all the time. Nice, beautiful campus. And I actually drove past here sometimes when they were prepping on for the games on my way back home for the weekend. And it's crazy. Like I like to see where they at. You know what I'm saying? They support truckers there. They really do. And I like the fact that I like that. You know. But nice campus, nice stadium. I like the stadium they got there. But the culture that they got there, there's not much to do out there, right? It ain't. It's a country, and sometimes that's the best. That's the best places to go where you could just focus on your academics. You ain't really got to worry about too many places to go out and to get in trouble places. You know what I'm saying? Like I dig it. It got to be hard playing for Las Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Nevada or UNLV. It got to be tough to play at Miami, Houston, Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? It got to be hard to play there at those places. Texas. Definitely got to be hard because there's a lot to do. There's so much to get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And but I think that's where smaller town football, where you could just lock in. That's why the teams are so great because, you know what I'm saying? There's things that you can do, but you got to make it fun for yourself. You got to make things up for yourself, right? So you got to invite the drama, you know what I'm saying, to yourself, right? You know what I'm saying? You can go get into something down there real easy. There are a lot of distractions around, but James Madison, not too many distractions around there. But back into the game anyway, like I was talking about, you know what I'm saying? So Bob Chesney did take the coach, and UCLA, they want that. They need that. He took the job at UCLA. Now I think Billy Napier took the James Madison job. Billy Napier went from Florida. Now he's going to coach James Madison. Great place to be. Easy. Some nice recruits that you get there too. So Billy Napier taking over there. I'll be paying attention to more the Sun Belt Conference and seeing what they're doing because now you got Billy Napier, Charles Kelly in that conference. Charles Kelly, Billy Napier, just two of historic coaches that we know. Now things didn't work out for Billy at Florida, but that don't mean it's not gonna work out at James Madison. But anyhow, let me get my notes. Got my notes. Well, early in that game, in the Troy and James Madison game, first quarter two, there really wasn't a lot of scoring going on early in that game, right? Early in that game. So second, it was the first quarter, 2 minutes to go, field goal, good by JMU. James Madison up 3-0 on it. Next drive, it was second quarter, 14 minutes, 10 seconds to go in the game. Goose Crowder touchdown by Troy. Now it's 7-3 JMU. Now they're down, right? They're down They're down 7-3. JMU is. So in that game, then they go back. Second quarter, the next drive, 13 minutes, 55 seconds in the game. Wayne Wright got a 73-yard touchdown by the QB from James Madison. Great kid, man. Great quarterback. He really is. I don't know if he's going to UCLA with him or if he's going to roll with Nico, but he definitely knows how to coach that QB position. All right. So, and Bob Chesney does. He knows what he's doing, like the way his offense rolls, because they roll. All right. So they go up, 73-yard touchdown. Got him. I think it was it a run? I can't remember what it was. Anyhow, he scored. Boom, 73 yards. Took it to the crib. James Madison was up 10-7 in that game. Second quarter, 7 minutes to go in the game. Braden Welski, number 10. James Madison goes up 17-7 on Troy, right? Now Troy gets their revenge because the second quarter, 2 minutes and 35 seconds to go before the 2-minute timeout. Tate Meadows, touchdown number 22 for Troy, gets in the end zone. Troy is down 13. Troy 17. JMU, third quarter, 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the game. Jacquez White, interception for Troy by a tip pass. It was a tip pass. Good, Rush. That's how the interception happened. Just to put a little context on that, right? Because I know some people be like, hey, we got an interception on there, but there would be tip passes, there'd be bad passes, and that we'll get into that in a minute. But sometimes that happens in the game, tip passes, but you got to put the little context on those turnovers sometimes, because it's not just the quarterback's fault all the time, right? They just ain't looking down at receiver all the time. Anyhow. Now we go to the third quarter. I mean, that interception happened in the third quarter. I'm sorry. 5 minutes, 20 seconds to go. Third quarter, 4 minutes, 25 seconds to go, was a missed field goal, 46 yards away to tie the game. You missed a field goal, bro. You can't do that. Now they started pushing off in the fourth. That's when the things started happening. Because you got third quarter, 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the game. It was 2nd and 7. The wide receiver gets stripped the ball out of the receiver's hands. Back to back drives. This kid just couldn't get right. You know what I'm saying? The interception, now the fumble, right? Didn't happen. Fourth quarter, 4 minutes, 20 seconds to go in the game. Lonzo Bennett was 1st and 10, 26-yard touchdown. James Madison goes up 24. Troy 14. Fourth quarter, 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the game. 4th and 19. Strip sack recovered by JMU. Number 56 took it to the crib. That's how you got to 31-14 finish. And James Madison, Sun Belt champions, right? They go to win the Sun Belt champions. Shout out to them. That's how that happened. Now, in that North Texas and the North Texas and Tulane game was a good game, right? It should have been a lot closer. It should have been, because they did get it together. That quarterback at North Texas is an absolute problem. Don't care what nobody say. The kid he just be on fire. Like he's going to be really good. Like I'm sorry to tell y'all that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sorry, not sorry, but he's going to be good, believe it or not, because he's nice. He's really good. The young quarterback, I think it's like Messiker, Drew Messiker, something like that. Anyway, he's going to be good. But he threw 3 picks in the game. But it's just not the 3 picks. It's how the 3 picks happened, right? It was tip passes. Number 10 just couldn't hang on to the ball twice, right in his hands. I think one was like for a first down, and then one was for a touchdown. One was for a touchdown in his hands. He tipped it. He missed it in the end zone. Just couldn't hang on to the ball. And that it happened like that. And the thing is that gets me with a lot of these young receivers is why do a lot of receivers body catch? Use your hands. The gloves got stickum on them. Could you imagine? I mean, I can't imagine. Because, playing nowadays with the way that these gloves are made, it's like stickum that's on the gloves. Damn near mechanic gloves. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever get those mechanic work gloves, those rubbery gloves? It's damn near like that. Like, how do you drop a football when it's actually stopping it like that? Use your hands to catch the ball. Body catching, and they're always jumping. They're always jumping for no reason. You're in the route. Why do you jump? You know what I'm saying? They jump all the time. I see it all the time in the NFL. Receivers always jumping and they're using their body, jump, catch, body. That's how you drop the pass. Your body is secondary. That's what I was always taught anyway. Try to use your hands first, and it goes to your body, right? Because when you're using your body, all the receiver got to do, you know what I'm saying, it's already dropped. Then I mean, I don't know. They're always jumping and they're always trying to body catch the ball, and I don't know if that's being taught, but I don't know if I don't think that's great. There's certain circumstances where you want to catch the ball with your body versus your hands, and I think great receivers notice that, and great receivers use that to their ability, and bad receivers just don't know how to do it. Period. I mean, there's a time to use your hands, and there's a time to use your body. Santonio Holmes catching the touchdown from Ben Roethlisberger to beat the Arizona Cardinals in the Super Bowl. Using his hands, if he didn't stretch and use his hands on the sideline, we don't win that. Try to use your body and stretch out, you lose. All right. Anyway, but that game was good though. It was a good game. So let's get into that. Can I get into recapping that game? First quarter, 8 minutes. There was a lot of scoring in this game, just back and forth scoring. It was a lot of scoring putting up from Tulane. They played good. I think Jake Retzliff, he played really good in this game. Seen some good things out of him in this game, man. He didn't turn the ball over. Stats line didn't look really pretty in the game, but I thought that he handled and managed the offense well for Tulane in that game. Jakari McClure absolutely went. He had an amazing game. He was averaging 5 yards of tote in that game. I think that it was phenomenal the way that he played, man. I think it was like one play. Those were the highlights for that game for me. Was number 10 not really catching the ball for young Messemeyer, Drew Messemeyer, the quarterback at North Texas. Absolutely going to be a great quarterback. I think that I can't remember if he's going to be there or not. I can't remember if the coach is going to be there in my notes. I think Eric Morris. I don't think Eric Morris is going to be there. He's still going to be there. John Summerall for Tulane. He's leaving, but he'll coach out his team, and he'll be straight. But he did get the coach of the year. North Texas definitely did get it, deserving that because that's a young team, and I think they'll be right back in there for the American Athletic. North Texas, they'll be right back, right back with it. That team is very young. A lot of those players will be playing in the bowl game, and they'll be a force to be reckoned with. Now we get up into the game of the games, right? I thought that UNLV should have beat Boise State. Boise State, they came into that game 8-4. The championship for the Mountain West. They should have came. They had the game. They could have won that game. But they've also lost a close one in New Mexico. Was it New Mexico State or New Mexico? I think it was. Either one of them. Anyway, they lost that game too. And they let a couple games get away from them in the Mountain West. But that's just how wacky college football has been this year. It's just been that way, right? But in that game, in that Mountain West Conference championship game, shout out to both head coaches, Dan Mullen taking over UNLV in his first year over there with UNLV, being able to get them to the Mountain West Conference championship, I think is good job. But I mean, they already had a lot of players returning, a lot of returning production on that team. So, but still getting them there, I think that's good. It's not easy to coach and get wins in college football. So we'll say that. Spencer Danielson, cool story about Spencer Danielson. He's been with Boise State for a while. He's been there now for a while. He's been with them since 2017. He started off with being a grad assistant. He was a grad assistant, and then he moved to the defensive line, and he was a co-defensive coordinator and defensive lineman. And then he moved to the defense, a coordinator and the linebackers. But now he's the head coach of that team. So he's been all over that team everywhere in all the positions defensively, right? Been all over that team. And that team knows him well. And I think that they'll be back because there's a lot of young talent in the Mountain West, especially on both of those teams, right? A lot of young talent, college football. Showing out, and I like it. I love it, actually. I love it. I love to see this young talent showing up. A lot of these singers just makes me wonder, and Not to say that just a lot of these quarterbacks should come back, but a lot of these players need to come back and work on their craft because a lot of young guys showed up. A lot of young guys showed up. And I could dig that. But in that UNLV and Boise State game, UNLV came in 10-2, Boise 8-4 in that game. First quarter, they didn't really, but no scoring was really going on until like 12 minutes into the first quarter. Was 3rd and 11. Ty Bennett, number 0, got up in there. You know what I'm saying? Recovered a fumble, touchdown, got up in there. First quarter, 7 minutes. It was 7 minutes to go in the game in the first quarter. 2nd and 8. Max Mattis went in for a touchdown. You know, Boise State, after that good field position from that fumble, first quarter, then we go back to the first quarter, 2 minutes, 36 seconds, 4th and 10, 50-yard field goal missed by UNLV. Vinleva, number 32, missed the field goal. Could have been, that's 3 points right there. They could have put him on the board. Wasn't there. 1st and 10, 30 seconds to first quarter, 30 seconds to go in the first quarter. 3rd and 7. They was at the 11-yard line. Dylan Riley ran a touchdown in. Caught a pass to the flats. Boise go up. It caught in the flats. Boise goes up 14-0. 8 minutes and 55 seconds in the second quarter. After a 11-play, 60-yard drive, 2nd and 2 on a 7-yard line. Cam Bates, touchdown, caught a touchdown pass in the back end zone for Maddox Mason, whatever his name is, crazy name. Quarterback for Boise State, 21-0, and they go up 3 minutes and 14 seconds to go in the second quarter. 3rd and 4, Boise. Goodness, this is UNLV 5-yard line. After quarterback for Boise, UNLV, Anthony Calandria, touchdown, 7-21. Boise State still up. Second quarter, 2 minutes to go. Out of the 2-minute timeout, 1st and 10. Malik Sherrod caught a touchdown pass, took a screen to the house for 40 yards. Now Boise goes up 28-7. He got busy on that play too. Caught that screen pass and went to the crib on him. Was like, dang. Second quarter, 1 minute left. 1st and 10, 11-yard line, touchdown pass. Now it is 14-28. UNLV gets up in the end zone. 14-28, halftime. 28-14. Boise State's in the league. Third quarter, they defenses got the gun. It was a lot of 3-and-outs, back and forth, some good drives. Some drives wasn't ending the right way. In the game, third quarter, 3 minutes to go in the third. 2nd and goal, set on the 7-yard line. JoJo Earl, touchdown out of the Wildcat for UNLV. They went into the Wildcat, ran one in there. Now the game's 21-28. Boise State still in the league. Locked down some more defense for a couple minutes. 4 in the fourth quarter, 13 minutes, 24 seconds, 2nd and goal. I think it was like on a half-yard line or something like that. Sire Gaines, number 26 for Boise State, ran up a touchdown. Boise State goes up 35-21. Fourth quarter, 3 minutes and 21 seconds to go. 4th and 7, 35-yard line. 50-yard field goal made from Colton Boomer, kicker for Boise State. And that was your final score, was 38-21. Boise State defense absolutely showed up against a decent power offense ran by Dan Mullen and his guys over at UNLV. But that goes to show you Spencer Danielson, the head coach up at Boise State, defensive background, defensive line guy, learned how to coach, call the defense, started off a grad assistant, worked his way up to head coach with Boise. He's been there. He knows the culture. He knows what to expect from the team. I think it was a great hire and a great look for them. Got the shout out to them, Mountain West Conference champions. Got that done, man. They got it done. And you can't argue with that, man. Cannot argue with that. It was so much more, man, that happened, man. You know, back and forth. I think it was in the Tulane game was a lot more 2-point conversions, all kinds of stuff that happened. But anyway, we ain't worried about that. Put the notes up. Now we get into them good games. Now we get into now. I ain't that all the games are good. I don't want to put knock on nobody. Now we get into the good ones. You hear me? BYU and Texas Tech. Texas Tech handled BYU in that game. I thought, I put out this right here, and I said this, and I stand on this still. Texas Tech is a very talented team. BYU is a very sound football team, meaning that this team is so well coached. They like to minimize their mistakes in the game, right? And when you can minimize mistakes in the game, that helps so much, right? Both teams did a phenomenal job as far as penalties go in this game, because there was only 9 penalties in both teams, 65 yards of penalties with both teams. Texas Tech, with the talent that they have on that team, I slept on how sound of a football team Texas Tech was. Although I did say that if they lost the game in the Big 12, I would be shocked, and I still was, because they are a team deserving to get the first round bye and the beater at number 4. BYU. Now, if Texas Tech did not have the fact that their togetherness is there, and they proved it against a very, very well coached Kalani Sitake BYU team, just tells me that this team is definitely ready to play whoever comes their way. Probably it'll be Oregon, but they're ready for Oregon, and that will be a good game. But I think that they're ready for them. Now I'm not counting James Madison out. Sounds like it, but looking at what James Madison has to offer and what Oregon is strong on, James Madison lost by 2 touchdowns earlier in the year to Louisville, but still what Louisville was able to do in that game to the quarterback, Oregon, and James Madison can run the ball well. Now, if Oregon does not come to play, and I'll talk about it here in a second. Don't want to get away from it. Don't want to get off topic, but I'll talk about it in a second. Hold that thought. Hold that right there. But both teams, like Indiana and BYU, are very sound football teams that minimize the mistakes. But Texas Tech showed up, and the fact that they did, I think that's a very dangerous team and to go on into the playoffs, and they absolutely deserve to be there. They finished that game 34-7. Got it together. They did their thing. Now, Bear Bachmeier did throw 2 picks in that game. He was 16 for 27, had 155 yards. I thought they just really couldn't get nothing going on the ground. LJ Morton did have a couple of good runs in that game, but Brennan Morton just managed the heck out of the offense. He really did in that game. Hit everybody that he was supposed to. Shared the ball around pretty well, and the guys, they just played a team. They play lockdown defense, but Rodriguez is just a problem, man. He really is. He's really good, and getting I think he won the Dick Buckus. Shout out to him, or finalist for it. He should get it. He should get the Dick Buckus trophy for the best linebacker in college football, because he absolutely is. Going to be looked at as a first-round pick in my eyes. The way that he just understands the game, his awareness on the football field defensively is next to none. Don't think that you could compare Jacob Rodriguez to a lot of people who's a straight up beast. And that team, they come together and they play well and they can move the ball. And when that defense gets on you and when they get up on you and that defense just can pin their ears back, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle with that team. But they get the job done and they win the Big 12 champions. Shout out to them, man. Deserve it. Definitely deserve it. They blew them out. I don't want to get on them too bad. BYU, they just ran into a buzzsaw of a team. They were familiar with them. They beat them earlier in the year, and they just went in there and recapped on what they already seen out of BYU and shut it down. Absolutely shut it down. But if you're a BYU fan, you ain't really got nothing to hold your head on, because rookie quarterback, true freshman quarterback in Bachmeier, Bear and Tiger are there. Got a lot of guys that probably be showing back up next year, loading up again and being another formidable opponent in the Big 12. Hopefully, I got a favorable schedule. We'll see what happens. Had a tough one this year, I thought, for BYU, but hey, we'll see what happens. I think Kalani Sitake and the staff over there, I think they could do it again. I think they can. Another handle by Georgia, just handling Alabama. They made Alabama look like a JV team. They just did. And I'm being honest, they Alabama couldn't get nothing going in that game. Alabama was shut out the entire game until the fourth quarter. The entire game. And Georgia just slowly beat them down. Slowly. They just slowly beat them down. Now, Ty Simpson got it going late in the game, and that can't happen. That cannot happen. But that cannot happen. Like, he cannot get it going late against that Georgia team. They should have been trying to attack them deep. I think so. Y'all got the receivers. And that what I was talking about, catching with your body. Warren Williams is I don't know if he's Jeremiah Smith. I don't think so. I don't think that you could keep comparing him and say he's one of the better receivers. He has a lot to work on, but he came in. I don't know. I think he signed young, and I really don't want to put too much on the young man. Came into college like 17 years old, started as a true freshman, so he has a lot to learn. You know what I mean? A lot to learn. On how to catch, and I think he's seeing one of the best do it in Giovanni Bernard. Bernard is the best receiver with Alabama, and I thought they should have attacked him more downfield. Let Ryan Williams, use that speed and get downfield, man, and for that 50-50 ball. And I just don't know why that didn't happen and test those corners with Georgia, although I do think their corners are a little bit more prepared this year. And here's why, because when you practicing against the speed of Zachariah Branch, which is a problem, Zachariah Branch is an absolute problem, right? Here's why he is, man. I told you when Georgia added the dimension of Zachariah Branch and the receivers that they brought in this year and the guys that they got in the receiving core, receiving room at Georgia, it added to that ground and pound game they got. There's no way that Georgia cannot beat you. They absolutely look like a very a better team than what they did earlier in the year. They definitely do, without a doubt. They will get their revenge. They play strong. They play tough, physical at the point of attack in the trenches, especially against Alabama. Manhandled them the whole entire game. The defense looked there. I thought that Alabama could have some deep shots in that game, but with Zachariah Branch on that offense and that offense moving the ball that way it does, Zachariah Branch is a problem. He's going to cause problems for people in the playoffs. He is. The ball in his hands, him, Malachi Tony, or two guys, and Jeremiah Smith. When you get the ball in their hands at receiver, things just happen. Things happen. They create ways. They make things happen. And that's what Zachariah Branch is. He's older now, a little bit more mature. And that's just what Georgia needed. And it's going to show up because it helps that run game, help with the pass game help, complementary ball with the offense defensively. They just slow roll Alabama, took control of the game the way that they were supposed to. And Kellen DeBoer cannot allow Alabama to get into a Georgia game. You cannot let Georgia play their game against them. You have to force them to play yours. You have to force them to get out of that physical. And that's the thing where Zachariah Branch helps again, because now they can stretch their field a little bit and move the ball a little bit more faster. He's a downfield threat. He's good. He's okay all the way around. Above mid, all the way around. but he is absolutely fast, elite speed. And they needed that. That's going to help, but you can't let them play that physical football game with you because you get into that match, trench for trench, running back for not, it's going to be a problem. And they did play that game without Jam Miller, but still, couldn't get nothing going in that game. I've never seen Alabama look so bad. The Florida State game, maybe, but Ty had a lot of his yards come late in the game. They did a wonderful job showing them different looks defensively. Could not run the ball none whatsoever. The stat line they finished off, I think it was negative yards. That should never happen. Almost they avoided the blowout, but shout out to Georgia Bulldogs getting the job done. Got the job done. Beating Alabama 28-7, SEC champs. A lot of SEC teams should have been in the playoffs, but we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that here in a second after I get done talking about Ohio State losing to Indiana. And Indiana is for real. They just are. The winner, the national, I got the Big Ten getting the national champion. Being a national champion. That conference is different. It's different ball. You don't hear about none of their players driving, getting pulled over, doing this, doing that. And that's not it. That's just me being a pundit, being a content creator, saying things like that. But you don't hear nothing about that. You don't hear nothing about their players getting in trouble. It's just football. And they get down to business and they're going to come play physical with you. I knew that was going to be a good game like that. Very tough pick. I thought Ohio State would pull it off, but I did say those definitely. If I got a chance, I'm taking Indiana in those points. I said that because I knew it was going to be a close game. It would have been a closer game had no Ohio State kicker made that chip shot field goal, but it was from the right hash. It definitely was. And those are hard kicks. Believe it or not, that's a hard kick to make. I think he just didn't take his time and he just rushed through it. Cause it was a chip shot. It really was. He should have tied the game up, but it didn't happen that way. Shout out to Indiana for getting a job done. Fernando Mendoza played well. He's most definitely a pro quarterback. Went up against a ex-pro defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, ex-head coach also. And Matt Patricia threw the book at him. He just did. But not only did Matt Patricia throw the book at him, did you see what the defensive coordinator at Indiana dialed up for Julian Sand in that first quarter with that interception? Did you see what happened on that play? They lined up Jones, the linebacker. They had both of their linebackers. I believe they were, I don't know if they were in the 4-3 under. I think they made it look like it was under, right? They made the 4-3 look like it was under, like they went under, but stacked the line up, made it look like a bear front, kind of came out. Number 46, Jones, the linebacker, went out to act like he was going to guard the slot receiver, because if I'm not mistaken, they had Jeremiah Smith on the bounce side. They had him on the bounce side, the short side of the field, that's the bounce. Had him isolated one-on-one with D'Angelo Pons. D'Angelo Pons was one-on-one with him. They had the three receivers lined up over there, trips to the right. Looked like they was about to set up for some kind of screen. The play was to go into Cornell Tate on that interception, but they had their other linebacker line up close to the line, looked like a bear front, looked like pressure was coming to Julian Sand, right? Now, when he seen Jones line up, he was right on that pick. He was right to throw the ball. I think he threw it too late. He threw a late ball there across. You can't be late across the middle. That's all. That's the number one rule. You can't be late across the middle. But he did look the right way because they were baiting him to go on the other side to Jeremiah Smith with the shorter but very good corner in D'Angelo Pons. But what they did was they dropped. They only wound up rushing, was it 4 or 3 on that play? I think it was 4 on that play, on that particular play. They rushed 4 because Jones did come and he came in hot. He went to go act like he was guarding, very good disguise of that play. Came in, had 2, I think it was 2, a defensive lineman, a defensive end dropped to the flats, running back. The linebacker dropped out, took just protected the first down marker, just dropped back into thirds, kind of to take away the slant. They took away the slant, and the quick throw from Jeremiah Smith was what they did on that side for D'Angelo Pons to go deep. So now D'Angelo Pons can just bail out and one-on-one with Jeremiah Smith in case it was deep, had their linebacker kind of drop, and it was like levels. They had the defense and go to the flat on that play. It was happened really fast. They ran, boom. He threw the ball. Already had a linebacker come up. Safety got him. Interception. Just jumped the route. Linebacker just jumped the route. Was right there. Was perfect. And they did it a couple of times. And you was probably going to get, he had the right read. He just threw the ball late. So, and he stared down his receiver, but on that particular play too, but it was late. And it happened a couple of times in that game. But you get these different looks from these defensive coordinators from Indiana and Ohio State. Now you're getting it from all over. You get it from all over, from Georgia. You probably see some with Oregon. Well, I'll talk about these teams here in a second. But when you plan these two teams, they're so well coached that everything works for Indiana because they're always in the right spot at the right time. They don't make mistakes. When the defense is called, they run that defense. You don't have a defensive lineman going to the wrong gap assignment. You don't have a linebacker taking the wrong coverage. You don't have a safety doing the wrong coverage. They're always on point on what they're doing. And that's why these things work. And that's why it works for Ohio State, because not only do they have the talent, but they're also like that. And that's why this matchup was so good defensively like that. Because these are two well-coached defenses, just like I thought the game would be. But Fernando Mendoza is absolutely a pro quarterback because he handled that very well. He handled it very well in that game. He's good for a pick a game. But I don't think it just wasn't his fault. Another tip. They could blame it on him. I mean, he's going to take it anyway as the quarterback, but still did well in that game versus Ohio State. They're very good. They ran the ball well against them. Their offensive line, or did the trenches, they were up for the task for Ohio State, which I thought that, and I knew they were. Not only are they handling people, but they're coached well. They do everything right. And that is and you're going to have a long day with a football team who does everything right, and they have talent. And then their talent shows up. And that's just what you're going to get out of those teams. And that's why these two teams are just, to me, it's hard to beat them. It's going to be very hard to beat Indiana and Ohio State. Very hard. Going to have a long day with a quarterback who struggles with identifying his receivers in different coverages. If your quarterback is not prepared for it, it's going to show up in these games because their quarterbacks are prepared. Period. That's just what it is. But shout out to Indiana getting the game. They won it 13-10. They haven't won a Big Ten championship since like 1970 or something like that. 1960s. It was good. That's good for them. Kurt Signetti, 2 winning seasons with them. With Indiana Hoosiers. Now he has a Big Ten championship to add to that. Ohio State got nothing to hang their head on because now they still got to bye because they're the 2 seed. I didn't think it really mattered in this game. I did not get these two teams are just the best in college football. I don't understand, and I don't get where a lot of people out there keep knocking Indiana and saying if they were in the SEC they would have more losses. No, they wouldn't. They're a very well coached team. There's something different than what you got in the SEC. You can't compare them to what's going on in the SEC. You can't compare what the SEC got going on and what they have going on. You don't have that stuff that you have in Indiana versus a Texas, Atlanta, a Florida, Miami, wherever. You know what I'm saying? You don't have that stuff going on. They don't have to worry about that. They all locked in on football. They're worrying about winning championships, being a team, to where you're not getting that from a lot of those talented teams. And the SEC, you're just not getting that. You don't get the consistency of play like how you're getting out of these Big Ten teams out of the SEC. You just don't get it. The most consistent team is Georgia, and then one may argue that they're one all the way consistent because they took an L to an Ole Miss team. Ole Miss not consistent because they almost took an L to a Wazoo team. No team in the SEC has played more consistent than the top teams in the Big Ten. That's it. And that's all. Moving on to that last game, and it's the last one before we get back into the bracket. Talk about that a little bit. Duke playing Virginia and beating Virginia. We all knew that can happen. The way that Duke can attack them. Manny Diaz getting that ACC championship, ex-Miami coach, which is crazy. They finished off 8-5. No chance of getting into the playoffs, even with being an ACC championship. Virginia having a 10-win season, and I thought that they would be the team that would at least be 8-5 or 6-6, something like that. For them to be 10-3 is absolutely that's great for that team. Great for that team. The team finished off great. I think that they got nothing to hang their hat on. I didn't think that they would get that far, but I think a lot of people are looking at Chandler Morris a little bit different now, seeing what he can do. He didn't play well against this Duke defense. That's a Manny Diaz defense. They didn't play well in the game, but still had I think he had a decent season. I don't want to say great, but I think he had a decent season. And I think that he'll get picked up and put on somebody's roster as a backup quarterback. Chandler Morris, maybe there's a lot of room for him to even get better as his pro career progresses. But I think he had a good season. I really do. Virginia played really well. They played throughout the whole season. Darren Mensah, young quarterback, probably be back with Duke and Manny Diaz next year. Duke probably will be looked at as being one of the top teams in the ACC moving into next season for sure. But that game was it was a good game because it went to overtime. Virginia forced another overtime, came back in the game to force overtime, and that's what I mean by Chandler Morris. He's a baller. Just came back, made the right throws, got it together late, didn't let his early mistakes get him down in his game, and they came back and they played ball and forced overtime against a Duke team that's played really inconsistent. But the ACC has been inconsistent all year. Another inconsistent. But Duke gets the win and the ACC champions, right? I got much time left. Got to get up into it. So, my picks once again for the college football playoff. Well, we got James Madison that will be playing Oregon, right? And James Madison can run the ball well. That's what they like to do. They like to run the ball well. They have a quarterback that can absolutely that can take off and run on you any given time. He will get busy. Believe it or not, that quarterback will get busy. The run game can be busy. And Oregon has been spotty with their run defense. And that can be a problem for them because once again, Bear Alexander, he likes to get out. It's just not Bear Alexander. They're tackling. The last time they played a game, I've seen them play against Iowa. Their tackling was very poor in that game. They missed multiple tackles. They didn't wrap up. Right. I'm sure that I hope that they go and they fix this against this James Madison team. If not, they'll have a long day. And a lot of people will be shocked watching James Madison run all over them. because that absolutely can happen because James Madison does have a strong O line. They got a strong O line. They got a good run game by both quarterback and running back. They can do it. So don't get up and have a long day with them. And dual threat Alonzo Barnett, he'll get it done. He'll get it done on you on the ground or in the air. He can throw it too. And Wayne Knight, good running back, just ran for over 200 on Troy. They'll do that. They will do that. So that's what they're going to look to do. Don't know if Oregon, that's if I had to put a weak spot, that's where their weak spot is, only because of they're not controlling their gaps and wanting to freestyle. The defensive coordinator, Tosh, I can't pronounce his last name because I don't want to mess it up and be disrespectful, but I do know his first name is Tosh, the defensive coordinator over at Oregon. They always seem to get out of their assignment, their gap. It's like a freestyle. It's everything has to flow in one motion. You have to play your position selflessly for your teammate to make the play. That's why you got that talent there. And if Oregon could come into that game and do that, then they probably can't. Then they will handily beat James Madison because they have all the pieces to stop the run. But they have been spotty in that all season long. But, and in the same sense, when you look at James Madison and what James Madison gives up, and they can get after the quarterback, but they give up passing yards. And Oregon has a good receiving core. They really do. So both teams, both weaknesses are there. James Madison had Dante Moore is going to answer the call. He's good at what he does. Now, I think that Oregon, Tosh is going to mix up some things on this quarterback. That's their best bet. Come with some exotics, some twists, stunts. Use all of that to your advantage against this James Madison team because they faced some good teams, but I don't think they faced a team like Oregon as talented, big, with speed on that defensive line that Oregon has. And that's why I'm taking Oregon to beat James Madison, although James Madison deserves to beat it. But that's the first one, right? Then we got Alabama and Oklahoma playing each other. Alabama playing Oklahoma. Ty Simpson can't get going. He can't get going late in this game. My early pick is Oklahoma because I still believe in John Mateer until proven otherwise. That injury kind of took him off his game. They have the receiving core that can tear Alabama up. They do. They have it. They got a run game. They got a strong defensive line that's very stingy. They got some decent corners. They can get after the quarterback. It's a very good game. I think these teams are very similar, and it's more like a pick 'em in this game. I don't think that you can look at these teams and say either one of them really got a weakness towards each other. You know what I mean? Taz Simpson, some people will say Taz Simpson is a better quarterback than John Mateer. You could say that. But I think he shows up in this game. He has some time to rest. Alabama just coming off of that game against Georgia. They get a week of rest. Oklahoma's been preparing and resting and getting their body right and everything else, and they're getting healthy. Mateer should show up healthy, and therefore I'm going with Oklahoma in this game. I've seen them play tough, and I know that they can do it anyway. I think they got a little advantage there. And that defense is both defenses are good, but I think Oklahoma's got a little bit more speed, power on that D line. Like their D line a little better than Alabama's. That's just what it comes down to with me. Look at Tulane and Ole Miss. Tulane, man, they boy, oh boy. Jake Ratliff can move that offense. I like Tulane likes to do a little. They're more of a balanced offense. They run the ball well too at Tulane. Just don't think they have the team to keep up with Ole Miss. Ole Miss is too big, too strong, too fast for them. Ole Miss better not go into this game against Tulane looking at them as being an inferior opponent and just thinking they're going to get a cakewalk. But what UTSA was able to do to Tulane earlier this year made you wonder. Now, if you remember going back to that game that they probably shouldn't have lost, they probably should never lost that game. But when you go back and you look at that UTSA game, and that's the loss that for me that I always said that looked bad. The Ole Miss already handled them. They already handled them before. And I don't think the rematch is going to be different. They know the recipe how to stop this team. They've done it before. It just wasn't Lane that was calling the off. It was Lane calling the offense. Absolutely, probably won't be a 45-point score. People think that that's probably going to even it up, but they still got the same players. Still got Chambliss. They still know what they're doing. And it just wasn't close the first time. Wasn't even close. They go out there and they do the same thing. It happens, but that UTSA game, and to what I was getting at with that was UTSA they outscored and they made stops. They got pressure on Rattler the same way that Ole Miss is going to do. Keep the pressure there. He is their guy. He is their guy. When all else fails, Ratliff is their guy. He is their guy. That's it. That's all. I mean, it's sad to say that, but that's the truth. Preston has showed up more sometimes throughout. That is like his number one guy, Shaz Preston, receiver, number 7. That's his guy. But but Ole Miss is just they're gonna harass him, and I don't think it's gonna be fair. I don't think this team, like I said, I don't think this team deserves to be there. I think there's other teams that could beat it. I would like Vandy in there. What's up with Vandy? I think people got, and granted, the SEC, I don't, but that's a 10-win SEC team. They should be in there. They play SEC opponents. Want to talk about a schedule? No, granted, like if you I think you had to kind of put James Madison in there. I think so because they didn't lose in their conference. They didn't lose in the Sun Belt. They won in the Sun Belt like how they were supposed to. They convinced you that they were going to win in the Sun Belt, and that's exactly what they did. But I don't think you can put, man, I just Vandy not in. That's not right. Vanderbilt not in. That does not make any sense. A 10-2 team. Right with Oklahoma, to be honest. And I mean that they played pretty well. They played really well. They beat Missouri. They played Missouri. They played Texas, lost to Texas by 3. I think that's they beat LSU. They lost to Alabama. They beat Utah State, beat Georgia State. They beat South Carolina. They beat Virginia Tech. I mean, and they beat Charles. They beat Kentucky. They beat Auburn. And they beat Tennessee. I don't think Tulane can even survive that. Like, I'm being honest. Like, I just don't see Tulane. Like, Ratliff is their guy, and Preston, that's their guy. There's people talking about Notre Dame. I don't really see where Vandy hurt themselves. Maybe the Texas loss. Maybe the Texas lost, but even if you look at Texas and who's Texas played this year, I mean, you would probably have to, even go with them if you put Texas above Vanderbilt. Because I don't think BYU ain't played a tougher schedule than either one of those teams. But a lot of people cry about the SEC. I get it, but the SEC is the SEC. It is what it is. They have good football teams. They got some good coaches and they got good talent. They have elite talent in college football. Everybody complains about the SEC until it comes time for your team to get a player from an SEC team. Then everybody's happy. Then everybody, he come from the SEC, came from Georgia, he came from Texas, came from here, came from there. I don't even care if he was the third string guy. People are still, he came from, so what? He still came from the school. But it's crazy to me that people do that. It's not like he spent 3 years at this program learning and developing at certain programs, because I think that's why Oklahoma, Brent Venables' team is good, because he's well coached and he's developing his guys and he got guys and everything. And that's what you got to do. You just can't have a 1-year SEC guy and he left the SEC because he didn't get the playing time. He didn't develop the right way. He ain't been there. But anyhow, refer to that because people wouldn't understand. There's a lot of fans out here that don't understand. It is a tough conference. It is. So is I think the Big Ten is a tough conference too. But even with that being said, though, I still think that the two top teams, Indiana, Ohio, Oregon, add Oregon in there, are teams that are just different. Oregon is, and it's hard to say that Oregon is inconsistent. Their losses, you know what I mean? It's hard to say that they're inconsistent. They lost against Indiana. And I stand on what I said earlier, but I'm saying that right now that the SEC, Vandy should have been in their playoffs. There's a lot of teams that's missing out. Anyhow, Ole Miss wins that. I don't know what I'm getting from Miami. They lost to teams that were very questionable. SMU just did what they wanted to do to that defensive front in Miami. Should not have done it. And offensively, they were able to get the Carson back. They bullied that offensive line at times. SMU did, and so did Louisville. And if Louisville can do it, and I think Texas A&M has a shot at doing the same thing to Miami. And that's why I went and sided with Texas A&M. I think that Miami can pull this game off. I absolutely do. I think Miami can beat Texas A&M. I do, but Texas A&M has a formidable defensive front that I don't think that, looking at what team is going to show up. Mario Cristobal, what team are you going to put on the field versus Texas A&M? What team? Mr. Mario Cristobal, dear Mario Cristobal, this is Truck and Chubby asking you, what team are you going to have show up against Texas A&M? Miami Hurricanes. What team is going to show up against Texas A&M? Is Ruben Bain going to be Ruben Bain? You know what I'm saying? I was born in the dark. Think I'm afraid in the dark? I was born in the dark. Is he going to show up on the field? Or is he going to, I don't know. That's why I'm asking y'all, let me know what's going on. Please, let me know. Let me know. Because if I knew, then I would go with Miami, but I don't know. So I got to roll with Texas A&M. They're the safer pick. Texas A&M is the safer pick in this game. But Miami has the talent to be in the playoffs and to be there, to play them. Y'all do. I don't know, man. I don't know. Now, I already talked about, advancing the teams that I thought that advanced, you know what I mean? Oregon for sure, Ole Miss for sure. The other two, I think, are going to be good games. Now, we could have had a playoff with all good games had you let Notre Dame and Vandy in. If Notre Dame and Vandy is in, that's possibly the best playoff that we have seen in some time. Very good playoff. Very good playoff. You cannot tell me right now if you substituted the number, if you substituted right now Tulane and James Madison out. James Madison is 12 playing Oregon. Tulane is 11 playing Ole Miss. You got Vandy playing Ole Miss and Notre Dame playing Oregon. Vandy playing Oregon and Notre Dame playing Ole Miss. Crazy playoff. Crazy great playoff. But we don't have that. I do think that when the time comes, Oregon to handle Texas Tech. I do think so. I think when the time comes, Indiana's going to handle whoever. They're going to prove the world wrong. But then I think that if they see Oregon again, I think Oregon gets them. Right? And then we go to Ole Miss and Georgia, that rematch. I think Georgia wins that rematch. But then Georgia goes up against Ohio State because Ohio State's going to handle whoever out of both of those teams. Hopefully, it's Miami. Because then Carson, because I have a little bit more belief in Carson Beck going up against the Matt Patricia defense and what that defense is going to be able to do to that team versus a young Marshall Reed going up against Ohio State. That's going to last. But then you got Georgia and Ohio State going at it, maybe. I think Ohio State gets Georgia. I do. But you do got Stinson Benny. Got an older quarterback. Got an older quarterback with Georgia. Got a young one over at Ohio State. Don't know. Might bounce out a little bit, but I think Ohio State get it. Do I think they repeat? No. I think Oregon walk away with it this year. I think they do. But either way it is, the winner who it is, it's a Big Ten championship game. It's a Big Ten national championship to me. I'm rolling with the Big Ten. That's what it is. That's what I'm saying. But y'all know how I always give it up, man, on the last of the show, man. Y'all know what I always say, man. Y'all pray for yourself. Pray for each other. Pray for me. Always praying for y'all. Peace. My body.